that lives here or whatever, which is obviously Miles. And but I think Marvel, because they as much as, because like, to be honest, the Miles like Spider-Man stories in the comics have been way like felt like Spider-Man way more than like Amazing Spider-Man has, like the Peter Parker ones, for like a long time, and they've been more fun and stuff. And like my favorite Spider stories of the last 5 years, 5-10 years.
Which ones are those?
The Miles Morales' Spider-Man stories.
Okay.
They've been really good. And so I'd like to see him make it in there at some point, but I know that Marvel, they've been waiting so long to get Spider-Man proper, right, into the MCU stuff,
Yep.
that I don't think they're just going to kind of sideline Peter Parker Spider-Man that early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. Like, what I'm speculating that they should do, because they do like to tweak it just so,
Yeah.
where I know, like, because Robert Downey Jr., he's getting paid a lot of money to play
Right.
Iron Man.
He's probably the highest paid one out of all of them.
I would say so. And so these studios can't just keep shoveling most of their budget to him.
Right.
So what I would like to see is they usher in these new characters,
Yeah.
like the Tom Holland, where they set him up as Spider-Man, and he does get to be a Spider-Man, but maybe after the Infinity War, Robert Downey or Iron Man dies, because there has to be some casualties, or else, what's the point of this huge war? There has to
Right.
be some casualties, and it can't just be like throwaways.
Like Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War, or like Quicksilver and
Yeah.
whatever, Ultron.
Yeah.
Like that was just a throwaway. It's like you set him up and you kill him. And then
Mainly because of the whole Fox thing.
yeah, and I kind of prefer that Fox one better.
Well, yeah. That's just it. That was like, they both. It was one of the rare circumstances where Marvel and Fox shared rights on characters,
Yeah,
because Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were such big players in both Avengers and X-Men. And then I think I don't know if they like fleshed it out together, because it seems pretty much like they kind of synced it up, where in Age of Ultron you got Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and then Quicksilver dies in that movie, and then in Days of Future Past you have Quicksilver, and you see his sister for a second. She's just a little girl.
oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, you do.
yeah, and then he's so it's like they were like, all right, she's more important to Avengers than she is to X-Men,
Right.
and he will serve better in X-Men than in Avengers. So we'll use her, you use him.
That's a weird trade, but yeah.
Yeah, it is, but it works, and that worked out swimmingly for Fox, because Quicksilver's parts have been the parts that have been talked about the most in the.
Time in a Bottle.
Yeah.
Jim Croce.
Yep.
And then what was the one in the most recent one? The song
Oh,
they
it
played.
was wasn't Mr. Blue Sky, was it?
No, it wasn't Mr. Blue Sky. But it was
What
like
was it?
it was something pretty good.
Yeah, because I just
Oh, it was Sweet Dreams of
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just recently, because I was at Electric Underground, the fucking movie. Used to be Vid Cycle,
Good Cycle. Take
or
Two.
Take
yeah.
Two outlet,
Yep.
whatever. But so, a bunch of resold movies, but they had a box set of, well, not box set necessarily, but they had a collection of all three of this most recent X-Men trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
The First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse, for like $12.99 or something like that. So I picked that up and watched Apocalypse for the first time, because I never saw it.
Oh yeah, how'd you like it?
It was okay. There were parts that were cool.
I watched it on HBO when it was on.
I like the thing that bugged me was it was a lot of the special effects didn't look very good.
You'd have to remind me which ones you're thinking.
There's a lot. There's like Apocalypse when he grows and gets big in Xavier's mind thingy when they're doing their little. That looks weird. Just the special effects in general just kind of look a little weak. Like, kind of like the first X-Men movie level. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, not as bad as X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, not that bad.
Oh god, yeah.
But like, just like you could have. Because the special effects in Days of Future Past look better, and in First Class. So I don't know what it was with Apocalypse that, and like there's a scene where they have Angel flying, and like it's very kind of unreal looking, like his face kind of is unnerving.
Oh yeah.
So it looks really not real.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that kind of bugged me too, is just the treatment of Angel in it.
Okay.
He was just there, kind of. Didn't get any development really. He was
Neither
just there.
did hardly any speaking
Well,
time with any of those.
the
horsemen.
Horsemen, yeah.
Other than Magneto.
Magneto, yep. And Storm got a skosh.
Yeah. Not
Because
too much.
because they're gonna bring her in
I
for
thought
the next one.
I thought Psylocke was going to be like the main badass of that
Yeah.
whole group, but
Right.
she barely did.
She was just
anything.
hanging out.
She did nothing.
No,
Nothing for me.
she looked like Psylocke.
Oh, yeah.
She did some
Definitely
cool
looked like-
stuff.
But
But yeah,
she didn't talk. She didn't really have
No.
a character. So
and
That's all.
Angel pretty much looks like he died, seemingly in that
Yeah.
movie. And so did Psylocke.
yeah, I think it was mainly about focusing on Cyclops and
Right.
Phoenix. You know, that kind of
Well, the start of that,
that was kind of cool.
and then like all the other ones, it's mainly that trio of Mystique, Charles, and Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and that the movies are focused on. Magneto's shit was cool. I liked that.
The stuff at the beginning,
Yeah,
that origin of or
with
just
his family and shit. And that happened in the comics to a degree. With his wife Magda.
The Forge people sold him out.
Oh, well, kind of. It's similar. He was found out to be a mutant, and his wife got killed.
Just because he tried to help a guy.
It was, yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was in the comic, but it's basically that. Basically that. And but I like how they used it in that, and just like, and Fassbender just fucking letting loose for a little
Just
bit
going-
there.
Yeah, going crazy.
And then the flashbacks to Auschwitz and stuff.
Yeah.
One thing I enjoy about these X-Men movies too is it's one of the most comic booky things in movies. They take place over 3 decades, but they don't age at all.
Yeah, they're mutants, so maybe
that's like you think about it. It's like, okay, so like say even that Magneto and Xavier were in their like early 30s in the first one.
yeah.
That was like 1965 or something was when it took place. So at this point, they should be in their 50s.
So
Right.
it should look a little bit more like Patrick Stewart. Maybe.
Yeah,
Ian McKellen.
and Havoc. You know, Havoc was maybe supposed to be like a high schooler at the time. He should be in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Still looks like he's in his 20s.
He was-
And he's supposed to be Scott's older brother.
Right, he's the older
which
brother.
is the opposite in the comic book. Scott's the older brother.
Okay.
Havoc's the younger brother. And the powers are different too. Havoc's one of my favorite X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, period. He's way cooler than Scott.
Yeah.
Like Cyclops, he's a hesitant leader because he doesn't like it, and also a part of it is like his brother is the leader of the X-Men.
Right.
It's just like he's never felt comfortable in that, but he's always been like a super good leader, and like he's always just been a better X-Men than Cyclops ever is. And like because in the books his powers they're still like those rings, right?
Yeah.
But they come out of just his arms,
Okay.
and he shoots them like that. And the only thing that his chest has to do with it is on his costume he has a circle, and it basically shows how full of energy he is, essentially.
Right.
So when the circle's all full, he's completely full, kind of like a battery situation.
Right.
But he's had a lot of cool shit. And again, like Havoc was in all 3 movies, but
Didn't get a lot of screen time.
nope. And then dead.
Very forgettable.
And then dead.
And dead.
Um,
That's what I'm saying.
That's one of the main problems
That's what I'm saying with what the
with this
MCU
series.
has to do is kill off people.
Well, one idea that I heard that was really interesting to do to address the whole Iron Man situation
Yeah.
is currently in the comic books. Um, at the end of Civil War II, they did a Civil War II because Civil War the movie was coming out, so they're
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, we're gonna do it again." But anyway, it's Captain Marvel on one side of the fight, and then Iron Man on the other side, and whatever hero split up between. Um, and it's over an Inhuman who could see the future, and Captain Marvel wants to use him in like a kind of like a Minority Report type of situation.
Mm-hmm. Precogs.
Yeah, exactly. If you see the crime happening before it happens, then you can stop it situation.
Yep.
And Stark's like, nah, that's a terrible idea. We don't even know if you can change it and it won't come true,
Right.
like all that stuff. So they fight whatever. Stark almost dies at the end,
Okay.
and he's in a coma, and he's hooked into this machine, whatever. But he uploads his brain kind of into like an AI.
See, they could do that
And-
after the
Exactly.
Infinity War.
And for a while he was
Because the
just
Vision is out of
he was
his
just
AI.
serving as kind of like a Jarvis
Yeah.
to the two people who have been Iron Man. War Machine's niece becomes Ironheart, and then Doctor Doom becomes the infamous Iron Man or whatever. And so they talk through that. But now, currently, in the current event that they have going on, Secret Empire, which is Captain America goes fascist, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Hydra.
he's secretly been Hydra the whole time because of some stupid cosmic cube nonsense that rewrote history,
But
whatever.
you gotta look at the actual characters. His namesake is Captain America.
Yeah, right.
Like you gotta be like, all right, he's doing this for a reason.
Yeah, but like that's just it. There's and when that first happened in the comics, when that first revealed, see he like threw somebody out of a plane or something, or killed somebody, and then he looks to somebody else and he goes, "Hail Hydra," and you're just like, "What?" And
That was a big thing. That was a big
Yeah.
stir.
And there's a whole lead up of shit to that. That's not important right now. But in Secret Empire, now Iron Man has put his
Brain.
AI consciousness
Right.
into one of his old suits.
Okay.
So what you could do is you could have an Iron Man, right, that's going around that is just the suit, and still have Robert Downey Jr. do the voice
There you go.
for it.
Well, I'm not gonna.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why. Well, they've done that in one of the movies. They did that in 3,
Yeah.
where it was just him.
Yeah, there's
flying-
already
it was-
yeah. He had all the drone suits and shit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's already in there essentially that you could do that. And you have Jarvis and shit in there that they and then made him into fucking Vision and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the precedent is there. So that's one way you could deal with that as well. Captain America is a little easier to deal with because in the comic books we've had Bucky and Falcon take over as Captain America.
Yeah. What do you think will? Because the next big movie is gonna be Black Panther, right?
Yep.
So, do you think they'll have Bucky still involved? Because he's
You'd
in-
assume so because he takes him
Yeah, he's there now.
Yeah.
But we don't know if
But-
it takes place before those events or after
right
those
or
events.
after, and then maybe they're just saving Bucky and he'll come out of ice at the end to have to go deal with Infinity War shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm. And he's probably gonna be a casualty.
Yeah, that's possible. Sam Wilson just gave up being Captain America now in the comic books, but like, I don't know. I could see them just skipping over Bucky and going right to Falcon as Cap, but he's like I said, he's out of the game right now.
Okay.
He's because they try to. That's the thing with Marvel is they're all about that corporate synergy. So if something happens in a movie or a TV show, they're gonna make it happen in the comic books, which is kind of annoying.
It kinda.
So like when
They like continuity.
there's an alternate universe of books that was the Ultimate books, right? There's the Ultimates, which was the Avengers. There's Ultimate Spider-Man, which a lot of Spider-Man movies as of recent have been based off of, especially this one. And that's
Okay.
where Miles debuted, was in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Right.
All sorts of, so there's a full line of those books. Um, and Avengers, even like all the Avengers stuff, a lot of that, like the Chitauri,
Yep.
that's directly from Ultimates, like all that stuff. Um, so shit, what was my point with that though?
The continuity of everything.
Oh, so yeah, in the Ultimates, the artist Brian Hitch on it, he designed or he drew Nick Fury, who up until that point was an old white dude with
Yep. I remember that.
gray hair on the side and shit, to look like Samuel L. Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man rolls around, they get Samuel L. Jackson to play Nick Fury. So that was a nice little nod there, right?
Right.
But Marvel being Marvel, they decided to do a storyline. I forget what it was called, but it involved this soldier and his buddy named Cheese. Called him Cheese. You never knew what his name was until the end. And the guy, he ends up getting captured. You find out he's Nick Fury's son.
Mm-hmm.
They capture him because he's got this, I forget what it's called, but it's the serum that's in his blood that Nick Fury also has in it, which keeps him young and all this shit.
Doesn't he have like some kind of like varicose vein around his eye too, in the comic?
Well, it's a big scratch, because in the Ultimates, Wolverine cuts his eye out
Okay, I thought it
in
was
a
part of that
in a
serum
war.
or something.
They're like in a war in the desert, and Wolverine slices his eye out, and that's why he's got the scars over his eye.
Okay.
But so when they have him captured, and then they have Nick Fury captured, they're like, well, the serum is naturally occurring in your blood, and so we want it, whatever. And then they're kind of torturing him. They're like, oh, why don't we make you look more like your dad? And they cut his eye out. And then when he's like escaping or whatever, his head like starts on fire somehow, so his hair burns off.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see him again, he comes in. He's got the eye patch and he's bald and he's got the goatee. Boom, there's your new Nick Fury.
That's awesome.
So but it is and it isn't. It's kind of frustrating. It's like, why not just have Nick Fury be fucking Nick Fury?
Well, the thing is that maybe, with the character like Nick Fury, he's the type of guy that, I mean, you saw Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That whole movie was espionage, like
Which
crazy.
Nick Fury is ultimate.
Yeah. So
Like-
I'm saying like he's like pulling off the Mission Impossible 2 like masks.
Yeah.
He's got
that's-
all these.
But it's not.
facade.
It's not like Nick Fury normal. It's his son. But his son has a different name, right?
Right.
It's some whatever. And then they're like, oh, here's your birth certificate, and his birth certificate says Nicholas Fury Jr. on it, and you're just like,
That's kind of.
they just moved. Yeah, they ham-fisted the fuck out of that series
Yeah.
just to make this Nick Fury be that Nick Fury in the comic
Right.
books. Ooh. And then you find out Cheese at the end, his buddy Cheese. You find out his name, Phil Coulson.
Oh God.
So now Coulson's part of the Marvel universe.
So
too.
they kind of preemptively knew what they were gonna make these characters, but didn't know. What
Well, this
the
is after
actual-
all the movies and shit.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was just like their way of getting some synergy going on, so people would go to.
So after they introduced Coulson, they already had a character named Cheese, or they introduced a character named Cheese and then like let's make
it was the thing, you didn't know who these two people were.
Okay.
I think his name was like Marcus Johnson or something. Was Nick Fury Jr.'s name? His mom had changed his name to her main name and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he only called his buddy Cheese, so you never knew what his name was.
Crazy.
So you had the reveals at the end there. It was just like, ooh. But they do that a lot. Like nowadays. Like
Yeah.
now Guardians of the Galaxy book. Now Star-Lord looks,
Like-
who was before like a middle-aged dude with brown hair, now looks like Chris Pratt. And they all act now like their characters in the
Rocket
movie.
Raccoon was British.
Where all the and like all the characters were very different than how they were in the movie.
Mm.
But now they all act like that, and it's all whatever, and it's all firmly, because before too there was a pretty revolving door of people coming in and out of Guardians.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit of the Destroyer.
Yeah,
it's kind of different.
And then like Mantis was a member too, who we saw in the new movie.
Yeah, wasn't there character named Bug.
Bug, yep, Bug. He was a dude in there too. There's a lot, and then, but like, and now too they made where before fucking what's his name, Michael Rooker's character Yondu. Yondu,
Yondu?
Yondu in the comic books was a member of the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
The OG.
Yeah, who existed in the year 3000,
Yep.
like way in the future. But now he's in the books as well as like the leader of the Ravagers, just like in the movie. Where it's like, yes, I get it. You want like you may get a lot of new readers who have whose first introduction to these characters were in the movie, and they want to see that reflected in the books.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But to your main base, who are the people who have stayed reading the books,
Yeah, that change is kind of drastic. And
Kind
you're
of
like,
annoying.
Oh man,
like
It's jarring.
it's not just Marvel. Like DC does it too, but not as much. Like DC, like the most flagrant they've done recently was when they relaunched their Suicide Squad book. It was the team from the movie.
right?
That's about it. But they're specific. Like they didn't make Floyd Lawton. They didn't change Floyd Lawton from a white dude with a pencil mustache into Will Smith. You know what I mean? Like they didn't do that.
Okay.
They're still very much who their characters are in that world already. But they just made the team that team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's always one thing that both bugs me and doesn't with Marvel. Instead of like the books influencing the movies more, it's the movies influencing the books now.
Because that's where the most viewership is happening.
Because that's where the most money comes in, is from the movies. So it's
Yeah.
like, because the comic industry hasn't been doing hot for a long time. So
Yeah, because I'm not a reader of like the normal like episodic Marvel or DC. I kind of just gravitate towards just one kind of
the contained story.
contained story, really obscure stuff like I
Yeah.
don't know. Have you read Frank?
Not Frank, no.
It's stuff like that where it's really bizarre out there. We talked about the Inkle, we talked about
Yeah.
Metabarons. Like those are the types of stuff that I read, where it's just these bizarre,
The
weird things.
the
that-
indie books.
Yeah, just weird books.
Yeah.
That I get
What's
into.
nice, you could get stuff like that from the big time fucking writers.
Mhm.
Um,
And sometimes they do cross over because they want to
Well, yeah.
dabble in something that they're passionate in.
well, and creator
oversaw
own
by
creator
these
own
other
can be more lucrative for them, right?
Yeah.
You know, instead of doing work on someone else's characters that you don't have ownership over, so you don't have as much control over them.
Yeah.
But Image Comics,
Image, give it up to Image.
yeah, they are probably the third biggest publisher after Marvel and DC.
Yep.
And which started from a bunch of
And then
Marvel
what would you
artists.
say after that?
Huh?
Like
After that, after Image, probably Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
But IDW's up there right now, though, too. IDW does a lot of cool stuff. They're the ones who publish the current Ninja Turtles books,
Oh.
and those are really fucking good.
Are they still brutal? Are they? Kinda...
Yeah. They're co-written by Kevin Eastman,
Okay.
one of the creators.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a nice mix of all the stuff of all the turtle stuff, but they do a lot of really cool shit, and they even team up with like DC and stuff. They'll do
Yeah, they
like
did it.
they did like
Turtles do.
they did Batman and Turtles. They did a
Okay.
Batman and Turtles crossover, and they're also going to be doing a Batman the Animated Series, like Turtles cartoon crossover as well.
That'd be cool.
They did a Green Lantern Star Trek crossover. Like they do stuff like that, and they do like prestige artist collections of various books and stuff from various publishers. But Image, you get a lot of like your big two writers, like your Grant Morrison, who has done Batman and done big giant stories in DC, but also done stuff like The Invisibles, which was ripped off by The Matrix hard. And like
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
Oh my god, I remember that.
yeah.
Where they had
Issues
we
on the
talked-
desk.
Yeah, and they denied it.
Yeah. And like he's
And
a huge dude.
And they would watch, Ghost in the Shell too.
Yeah, like there's and he like like, like he also did like his first big stuff was DC stuff. He did like Doom Patrol and he did
Okay.
Animal Man and made those books people actually gave a shit about. And like, but he does image books. Scott Snyder, who's currently like the big mastermind of Batman, or was for 5 years, and is doing a big Batman centric DC event right now. He does books for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the big writers from all the big two come there to do creative own. So you get a lot of really cool shit. Like Brian K. Vaughan does Saga through there, which is a really
Saga's
big.
great. Yeah.
Robert Kirkman does Walking Dead,
Yep.
through there. Like, they all, it's really, really cool shit. But now, actually, Grant Morrison is now I think the editor-in-chief of 2000 AD.
Okay.
The British anthology comic series that Judge Dredd is from and shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's now like, or no, not that. He's the editor-in-chief of Heavy Metal.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what he is now. But he still does all his other shit too.
Right.
But, so you could get these like big impressive writers,
I like how they're not tied down
Doing
to being devoted to one kind of.
right? And if they're
Publisher.
big enough, they're not going to tie them down. Like,
If they want a good writer, they just seek them out.
there's a lot, like especially right away in their like introduction into the company. A lot of you're introduced to the company, you do work for hire pretty much, right? Then once you become an asset for them, then you sign an exclusive contract
Yep.
where you can only work for them. But if you get big enough, you still may have a contract with them, but they'll let you go do an image series, you know what I mean, or do whatever you want essentially,
Yeah.
as long as you're coming back to Daddy, you're coming back to DC
Right.
and or Marvel, because Marvel does it too. And so, but what's cool then is you'll get writers. Cullen Bunn is one of them. Tom Taylor,
Did any of those?
who will do multiple books
Yeah.
for multiple publishers. So Cullen Bunn will have like I think he did Sinestro or something.
Okay.
I forget what DC book he did, but he'll have like one or two DC books out one week, and then the next week he'll have like two or three Marvel books out, and then they'll do multiple books. So these dudes will have like 4 books going at a time for different publishers.
Well, do you think that these guys would cross over to help the cinematic universe?
It already happened.
Did they do that with Homecoming? Because they had like 8 writers.
No,
They had.
that is actually a big reason why Marvel Studios separated from Marvel Comics proper once Disney bought them.
I mean, they're not separated in terms of.
They are. They're
basing
separate businesses.
Their stories, though, are totally reminiscent of
It
each
is,
other.
but Feige does not get along with Perlmutter, who runs Marvel Comics.
Okay.
And Perlmutter, when they were first getting going, he had instilled a thing called the Marvel Story Group, and that included like Brian Michael Bendis, the writer I was talking about. I think Joe Quesada was on it, who was the editor-in-chief at the time of Marvel. Now he's the CCO of Marvel, and like a bunch of like guys like that. So they had creatives on it
Yeah.
from Marvel, but he also had like some of his personal like stooges and stuff on it too to report back to him. They'd interfere a lot, which is a
Seems
big
like
reason
it's-
why Whedon left after Avengers 2. And then Feige, once when Disney bought them, he was just like, "Hey dudes, can we just, you own both of us. Can we just separate? Because they're not letting me do my job effectively." And it just caused whatever. So effective, then they were separated.
Okay.
So now that's why now we'll probably never
I
ever
hate
see
how businesses
Marvel
have-
Television cross over with Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Because Marvel Television is firmly under Perlmutter, while the movies are under Feige.
It sucks to think
You
that
only get
there's-
mentions.
There's so much infighting.
Yeah,
with
you'll get
these
mentions of
companies.
the event or whatever, the big New York thing. You'll get a name drop of Captain
Yeah.
America or something, or the Hulk.
It's very
but
petty.
you'll never see them. Oh yeah. Well, and that's another, like Fox. Perlmutter infamously has a terrible relationship with Fox, and it got to a point where he was trying to work something, and they were like, "No." So he decided, I'm going to wipe this place clean of the Fantastic Four. Because they had the movie coming out. The Marvel offices, all signs of Fantastic Four were removed. Merchandising, anything that, like, if you wanted to use a cover from something, like Secret War, like I was talking about,
Yeah.
if they weren't a Marvel Studios character, not on the shirt anymore. They took Spider-Man off it. They took the Fantastic Four off it because Spider-Man, they hadn't made that deal yet.
Yep.
Like, and so, like, and all, like, they had, like, some trading cards or whatever that, like, Fantastic Four were on. Those were canceled. Like, the Fantastic Four series, which still to this day, fucking Tom Brevoort, who's just a PR dude for Marvel essentially at this point, was just like, no, it was canceled because, it was low sales, whatever. But you look at the sales for Fantastic Four, and it was like a mid-tier selling book at the time.
Uh-huh.
They had many series that continued longer and kept going, and some still exist, like that sold less.
Mm-hmm.
But they canceled it like a few months before the movie came out, so they wouldn't have the book there to promote that movie. Like, it's petty. Like, it's real petty.
It sounds like it. Do you know of anything happening like that at DC?
Oh, and also, they killed off Wolverine, too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Like, number straight up Wolverine, dead. They've got his...
That's the pettiest you can go.
Yeah.
Well,
'cause he's the biggest X-Men character. That's
I
the
know.
anchor of all their movies. So it's like... So they killed him off. And now there's still Wolverine there. There's X-23, his
Yep,
clone.
his clone.
She's currently Wolverine. And there is Old Man Logan from the Old Man Logan storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did another, like, Secret Wars thing, and the universe is crossed, blah, blah, blah. Now Old Man Logan's on the main universe bullshit. So they're still there, but normal, straight-up Wolverine, gone.
yeah.
Has DC done stuff like that?
Yeah, have you heard
No,
of anything?
because DC has been owned by fucking Warner Brothers the whole time.
And
And all their movies have gone through Warner Brothers.
Right.
So,
I think DC is a subtle burn. You got to give
they
it
still
time.
do, they don't get me, like, I love DC, and I'm definitely biased towards them. But all of what I'm saying is stuff that I've just accrued through comic news throughout my years.
Mm-hmm.
And you find far more instances of Marvel being shady and shitty than DC recently. DC has definitely done some shit.
Well, I'm just
There's
thinking of
the
Batman.
yeah. There's
Bob Kane and
Bill
Bob
Finger.
and Bill.
That was Bob being crafty. That was Bob being shitty, because he was the one who worked that contract out with them.
Did you watch that documentary yet?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
You'll
They
love it, and you'll
Oh,
just
yeah.
be like, you'll feel so vindicated.
Oh yeah, I already do. It's two of the biggest villains to me in the comic industry. Bob Kane, Stan Lee. Two of the biggest villains in the comic book industry.
I would say so too, because Bill Finger and Jack Kirby are
Jack Kirby,
OG bros.
pretty much every fucking person who ever worked with Stan Lee on something.
Yeah.
Until, like, Ditko threw a shit fit about stuff and got his name on a byline. Because there's which I'm pretty sure we've talked about before, there's writing comics the Marvel way, which is the artist or the writer will write a guideline of what he wants to do. The artist will draw it, will pretty much write the story. They'll draw...
Well, it's visual storytelling.
Yeah, they drew the whole,
That's
all the
what tells-
visuals.
90%
And
of
then-
your movie or your book, or comic book,
Right.
I would say, visual storytelling is the big thing.
Right, so you get the story breakdown. The artist makes the story, and then the writer comes back in and fills in dialogue. And that's writing comics the Marvel way. Some will even say it goes a step further with some, especially like people like Stan Lee, who were were very big at the time as a writer,
Yeah.
where he would just have the artist write and do the story, and then he'd come in and do dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, where he wouldn't even do the breakdown, the initial summary breakdown of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where the artist would just do it, and then he'd come in and do his shit. Or he could be Bob Kane, who says he wrote and drew a shit ton of Batman in the beginning, and he barely did any of it.
If you see his Batman compared to Bill Finger's Batman, you'll laugh. You will
Yeah.
laugh
His-
out of your chair because his Batman was
at the peak
trash.
at the peak of his Batman writing, of his Batman run, Bob Kane was not writing or drawing Batman. He had ghostwriters and ghost
Oh, of
drawers
course.
for it all. And and how he got, it still amazes me how he got such a lucrative contract where you got
Yeah.
Simon and Schuster
Is that DC?
or Schuster, Siegel and Schuster. Simon and Schuster's a publishing house. Siegel and Schuster, Jerry Siegel and Joe Schuster, the guys who created Superman.
Yeah. They had their own documentary too.
Yeah, they had to shit fucking. But a lot of that stuff you have to chalk up to comics being a shitty industry right away. Like, they were not treated with respect at all. It wasn't seen as a serious thing. You know, like, it was just kid stuff right away.
Yep.
Now, as we've gone further along,
The impact of these things is huge.
they're doing more for
To think that
their
these guys,
artists, writers, some
Bob
of
and
them.
Bill,
Yeah.
were both alive, weren't they? At the premiere of Batman.
I think so.
And because
Bill might have been dead.
they did talk about it in the documentary. Like, this was a big deal. Like, we've hit the mainstream. Like, Batman is huge now.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting to see, like, the fruits of their labor come to, this huge epic moment in their life. But one of them doesn't get the recognition.
one's rolling in the spoils of it,
Yep. Well,
which he barely fucking did, and then
Bob Kane went to the premiere
in a
They're
fucking tuxedo.
in a tux, and he was like, "Yeah, you invented Batman."
He fancied himself Bruce Wayne. Like, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, which is
Bruce Wayne, Bob Kane. Bruce Wayne's family, his mom's side of the family, their last name's Kane.
okay.
Like, yeah, he fancied himself Bruce Wayne. But
I just feel so.
But yeah, there's a
happy
lot
after
of-
watching, and kind of saddened
Right.
with moments in the movie, the documentary, Bob and Bill.
like, stuff still isn't perfect for writers and artists.
I know.
It definitely isn't, but it's better than it was. And like now, like DC's doing a very artist centric kind of sub imprint, I guess. Spinning out of their event that they're doing, that Scott Snyder's doing, called Dark Knights. Metal.
Cool.
That's what it's called. And there's the Dark Matter universe, or the Dark Universe, or whatever, that's going to spin out of that, and that is going to be handled by, like, it's got some of the biggest artists in the game, and they're finally able to have control over this, of what they're doing. It's kind of an Image type thing.
Yeah.
Like what Image did, where there was these disgruntled artists, and they were all the biggest artists in the game, and they broke off and formed their own thing. DC is like, well, let's give them their own thing in here. So you got Jim Lee doing a book, who's, fucking the co-publisher of DC. He did the 90s X-Men costumes that you saw in, like, the cartoons and shit.
Yep.
Like, that was Jim Lee. And, like, much of how modern Batman looks in comic books is because of Jim Lee. And then we got, like, was it either Adam or Andy Kubert? I don't remember. They're the sons of Joe Kubert, who is a big artist that had worked for both. But one of them works for Marvel, and the other one works for DC.
Okay.
Him, and they've got, like John Romita Jr., who's a giant artist. His dad also was really big. He was a famous like Spider-Man artist and shit. And then John Romita Jr. came up, and then he made his mark through Spider-Man too. And like he had been a lifetime like Marvel person, like a lifer, until a few years ago. He jumped ship and went and started working with DC.
How do you feel about, just to get off track, just to digress a bit,
Yeah.
how do you feel about already established shows, like that started as television shows or a movie that then decided to become a comic?
You're saying like Alien,
Yeah.
like
Alien,
that,
like
and
a
then they
movie
started
that-
making Alien comics and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
Doesn't bother me, but I don't pay much attention to them though.
Do you think it? Would you, if you're a diehard fan of, let's say, Alien, and you want to know more about the lore without like
Yeah,
how things
because I
are?
mean that's how it is with Star Wars. Like I love Star Wars comics.
Yeah,
Like, and that explores a whole variety
I
of
would
the
say, yeah,
universe
Star Wars
without it.
is the biggest one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely.
Franchise that started as
And
a
they're back
movie.
at Marvel now, so like that's even bigger.
Hmm.
Um, but some may say more restrained and not as adventurous as the Dark Horse days.
Yeah,
But definitely, it's big, and so like that's fine if it's something you're. But most stuff I don't, just because I know. Like if it's Star Wars, I know that shit's gonna be important or around,
yeah.
But if it's something like they did an Assassin's Creed comic book,
Comic. Yep.
or
Lara
they
Croft.
yeah, or
Lara
they
Croft.
do stuff like that, um, and they do movie tie-ins all the time, even like big
Pokemon.
like
Pokemon.
stuff like even big stuff like or like movie stuff like DC sometimes will do a movie tie-in where they'll explore part of the movie universe that hadn't been like that takes place before the movie or whatever. Like they did that with the recent Star Trek series too. They do series that took place before the movie and leads directly into it
Hmm.
and set stuff up. That stuff I'm not as interested in.
Okay.
But if it's something that's just an intellectual property that they own and continuously publish stuff for, then yeah, because I know that shit's gonna be around.
Yeah, I like how stuff can migrate to other mediums. I think that's
Right.
kind of cool. I like how they do that.
And there's certainly stuff that definitely thrives in comics. But there's other stuff that just doesn't.
Yeah, and I would say that something that, just to tie it all together, Spider-Man is something that crosses all those boundaries. Like, it's a
Mhm.
great comic. So far, I'm liking the movie that the movies that they're featuring Spider-Man in.
Yep.
I'm liking the video games I'm seeing coming out later,
Mhm.
and I'm liking cartoons that have been in the past. All
And-
the cartoons,
And
all the big Spidey ones.
and one of the cool things with Spider-Man and why is a big reason he connects with people is something that Stan Lee said, where don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Stan Lee didn't do any work on stuff. He's definitely a co-creator. He just has to acknowledge that other people are co-creators,
Right,
and
not
they
be a
deserve the
showboat.
same amount of goddamn compensation as he got.
Yeah.
But like Spider-Man, he said big reason that he thinks it's successful or he wanted. I don't know if it was something he thought of beforehand or something he realized, but or he wanted him to have a full face mask, so you couldn't see any part of his face. So for all you knew, it could be you in that costume.
You could project
or it could be
yourself.
yeah.
Yep.
He's like, Batman. He's got this part missing, so you could see like his jaw. Like, you see who he is.
mask.
Yeah, or Superman. He's got nothing. He's just here. He is. This is him.
Yep.
Like, but Spider-Man, it's a blank slate. You can be whatever you want, unless you're someone who's not a muscular 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
But like, what I mean? Like, it's the blank slate,
Yep.
and I think that's why he translates so well into everything. Really, is because a big part of entertainment is being able to relate and also wanting to like see yourself in that.
I could say, before you seeing it, it's a high school John Hughes type of movie
Yep.
in the Spider-Man universe.
Which is perfect because that's what it should be. You
It's
know
a
what
high
I mean?
school. It's like, and I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah.
It's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I've heard that. I heard there's a couple references to Ferris Bueller's Day Off in there as well.
It's very cute.
I heard they replicate the backyard
I'm not saying anything.
running scene.
I'm not saying anything.
Fucking
They don't play Day Bow Bow.
oh, if only. Kevin Smith was saying I was listening to a podcast after like they did the Justice League trailer, and then DC put out the Justice League trailer,
Okay.
and then like a week later, or like that weekend, then Marvel put out a big Spider-Man trailer,
Uh huh.
and in that Spider-Man trailer, Kevin Smith will say he got a little misty eyed because it's like because he related that story about Stanley with I spent this blank slate thing. You see yourself as it, whatever. And he said, but it was cool because with that suit, it's all loose and stuff. You put it on, you hit the button, and it forms to your body. And seeing
That was a funny idea.
his buddy Ned, the bigger guy, the fat kid, put it on
Well, he
in
put
the
on,
trailer.
Yeah.
You see it in the trailer, he puts it on or whatever, and wears it, and Kev's like got a little misty eyed because it's just like that was you had that blank slate unless you were a fat kid because he was a fucking skinny teenage, muscular teenage, whatever. And so he's like, so I finally got to see, he's like, so goddamn representation, and just like,
which is great because the kid Ned in the movie
also
steals the show.
That guy,
honestly.
Ned, it's pretty much
Ned Leeds.
Yeah, Ned Leeds, who is
Hobgoblin,
one of the hobgoblins. But the character physically and how he acts is a lot like Miles' best friend in the comic books.
Okay.
I think it's Genki or Gonki or something's his name. And
Gonki.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But he's a heavy set Asian kid, just like that, and he acts just like him. So it's pretty much that character. They just threw Ned Leeds on it.
Hey, Julian.
Gonki.
Gonki.
But yeah, so that's some of the Miles stuff leaking in, which is cool too.
Definitely. I mean,
well, because Prowler in the mainstream comics, his name is Hobie Brown, is his name. But in the Ultimate books, Prowler is Aaron Davis, which is who he is in the movie, played by Donald Glover.
Yeah, they do show his rap sheet.
Yeah, and is Miles' uncle.
Yep.
Which leads to a lot of really cool and emotional storyline in his first kind of Spider-Man arc, which is nice. Miles is cool too because he's got slightly different power set than Peter does.
There might be some things that you don't agree with in the movie. I could see are you for? Did you like the idea of the organic web shooter, or do you like the mechanical Peter Parker tinkering web shooter?
I like the scientific aspect.
What?
Yeah, see, okay. I have an affinity for
They're
both.
pretty cool.
I have an affinity for both.
Sci-fi way, the other's cool for Peter Parker's tinkering.
Yeah. The reason why the web shooters are really cool is because this is something that he invented and built himself.
I think it's kind of weird. I think just getting the abilities of a spider's acrobatics and things like that is cool, like wall climbing,
right?
And these hypersensitivity things. That's
Yeah.
cool, but I don't think
physically shooting the web out of here.
Webs
also
would be here. I
no,
think it would come out of
comes
your
out
ass.
your butt. Yeah, it comes out right above your butt. So that that doesn't make sense that way.
So,
I think it's kind of cool just because it's more of spider power type shit, but
I like Peter Parker being so clever that he comes up with
that.
he's a chemist
and
and
invents
he can do this.
Yeah, and invents the webbing and all that shit. I like that. And they've done both in the comic books. There's a while where Spider-Man got something happen and then his webs became organic for a little bit because of the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miles, one of his he's got active camouflage.
Oh, cool.
Like some spiders do, where they can just kind of blend in. So he kind of goes invisible,
like a leafy bug.
Yeah, so he kind of goes invisible. And also I think he's got some stingers or whatever. If I remember correctly, he has something that kind of juts out of his
protrudes
arm and
like Shelob,
like a stinger.
Yeah.
That stuns you. But so yeah, because it's yes, but why have a complete? It's a dirty word in Spider-Man lore, but why have a clone of Spider-Man? Why not make him a little different?
Yeah.
Clone is a very dirty word in Spider-Man. Clone Saga, one of the most bloated and stupid Spider-Man storylines ever. It gave us some cool shit eventually. Some cool shit came out of it. But it was just it was bad and just bloated and just not worth it. Really not worth it. But and then
once you see it, we'll do a follow up.
Yeah.
And then we'll go full bore speculation of Infinity War and what what you think would come next of what they can do with Homecoming.
My favorite
2 or
my favorite
whatever.
thing though
Yeah.
is, which is something we've known since Civil War, but I love that they finally figured out the expressive eyes. You
That was
know?
pretty cool. The mechanical eye thing.
Yeah, before it was just like how would you do that, because it's just like in the books it's easy to do because you can just draw it like he's emoting with his eyes.
Mhm.
It's hard to emote someone with a blank fucking. But now you can. But then they figured it out how to do it in the movie, and that's really cool.
Well, that's why I want to get your perspective on the suit that
Yeah.
he wears. There's some cool things about it, and some not so cool things about it. I can see.
I've heard about
people's-
multiple suits. I heard about the Civil War one. Obviously, there's the Civil War one. There's his homemade one,
Yep.
which is cool because that's reminiscent of character from the Clone Saga, Ben Reilly, who was a clone of Peter.
Mhm.
He had a costume that was it was the tights were just red, like pure red, and his mask, and then he just had white eyes, like big Spider-Man eyes that were a little more angular. And then he had some wristbands that were like his web shooters, and then he wore a sleeveless hooded sweatshirt over it, and which he does with the homemade suit in this one.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a cool little nod to that.
You'll
Oh, dude, I'm
It's,
gonna
the-
be searching so hard.
do it, yeah, and then look up the spoilers and little Easter eggs
Yeah,
too.
I've already looked at a couple Easter egg websites or stories,
Mhm.
but because with me, it's spoilers don't really ruin movies for
But
me.
Easter eggs don't ruin anything.
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
But I think you will definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
Probably more than Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard.
Thank you.
That's one thing is like I loved Wonder Woman, but there was definitely like especially the third
I'm
act.
very happy that Wonder Woman is getting the recognition that it deserves, because
Yeah.
DC has been thrown to the gutter so many times with the movies that
Which
decided.
I've never quite agreed with. Like Man of Steel, I love that movie. I love that movie.
I could watch it if it's on.
Yeah, I love that.
I wouldn't
movie.
mind
But
watching it.
in BVS, I don't hate, especially the director's cut. Like I don't hate that movie. Yeah,
I think
explains
anything
so
that-
much.
You can forgive so much if you
Like, people hate it just because
if you love Batman enough and you're a fan of Batman, you'll,
Oh, dude, there's
you'll
so
forgive
much-
so many things.
There's so many like deep cut stuff. Well, not even deep cuts. Like it's pretty famous stuff. Like when he fucking bursts through the wall and grabs the guy. That's like straight out of Dark Knight Returns.
There you
Like
go.
so much, and then especially during the even more explicitly during the Doomsday fight, where they're doing kind of that panning shot, and you see Batman like hook onto the thing and then jump up onto the wall, and then there's the lightning strike in the background.
Yep.
It's exactly like that cover for Dark Knight Returns.
Well,
Like,
see, and then the visual storytelling with Zack Snyder, I get he's a very visual type of guy, so he's definitely style or something.
and I get that some people don't like the dark and dreary,
but that's the character.
but that's like fucking. And there are always people who rally against like that's Batman. Everyone says Batman's dark and dreary. That's bullshit. And I was like, go back to his first appearance. He's fucking shooting people with guns. He fucking like all sorts of shit. Like it's dark from the beginning.
Yeah.
It didn't get light until the 50s when they started doing weird sci-fi stories and like and then the 60s. And then in the 60s when they
This is your grapes. You had grapes.
you get the 60s with the Adam West show and shit. Like it's a lot of people's like well you had this. And I was like, yeah, that was an aberration. Like that was weird.
Yeah.
But like that's part of it. And they're like, well, Superman, he's not. Why do they make him all dark and brooding? And I was like, do you know what he has to deal with as a like maybe he's not always like this in the comics, but he is definitely. And think about it from a realistic perspective, what that motherfucker has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, knowing he is the strongest being
Yeah.
and having to be responsible enough to keep that under
Yeah.
control and fucking having to worry about not crushing a fucking friend's hand when he shakes his hand and like
sneezing in anyone's store.
and like trying to
Yeah,
like
don't sneeze.
having to filter out everybody that he can hear and shit constantly, and like how isolated he would really be, and how not happy he would be, like, and the Superman we have so far, he's not really Superman yet. He's only been Superman for a little bit. Put on the suit for the first time in Man of Steel. He doesn't have all those rules and regulations and virtues and all that shit yet. He just started doing it. He didn't want to do it, and now he's starting to get him. He's dead. Whatever. They'll bring him back and probably be like, "Oh, look, he's Superman now."
Yeah. Well, because that would make more sense because he did die, but then like they had that.
It's the death of Superman. It's
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like the comic book too. Is Doomsday kills him. They
Exactly,
kill each other.
I remember that comic came out. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, they're killing Superman.
They kill each other. Superman he doesn't die. He gets so close. He gets extremely close to death, and he gets transported somehow to the Fortress of Solitude, where they have this fucking special rejuvenation suit and container that he's in, that fucking brings him back, but takes and just inundates him with solar energy and shit, trying to bring him whatever. But that's basically what happened at the end of BBS.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh yeah, they're doing Dark Knight Returns. You know what I mean? Like they're doing that style Batman. Fuck yeah, they're taking a lot from that. And then all of a sudden, like started seeing Doomsday. I was like, Doomsday is in this. And I watched the movie out, and then it gets to the part where they fucking kill each other. I was like, the shit, they're doing the death of Superman too. Not only are they
had to throw all of their.
Not only are they doing Dark Knight Returns, they're doing Death of Superman also. And then you get the end there where there's the dirt on the coffin, and then it raises up
subtly, like because you see that at the beginning of Man of Steel. You see how
With
he
that-
puts his knuckles down, and a little bit of dirt comes, and he's
and
realizing
it's got
yes,
that, and it's got, I think it's got that same score too.
Same score.
That lilting like strings or piano thing.
Hans Zimmer, is it?
Yeah. And they but that little the whatever, like kind of like feeling, and they got that in there, so it's but with the point being, Wonder Woman, yes, they're finally
They're hitting
finally
their
happy.
stride now.
People are finally like, it's cool to like it.
Yeah.
Because it was cool to hate Batman vs Superman. Like that was the thing. Was like, everyone thought it was cool to hate the movie, and nobody wanted to say they liked it. You know.
The Suicide Squad, I think, was a bad decision at this stage.
I haven't finished it.
At this stage in the game. Like,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
I haven't finished it. I got to him Joker laying on the floor with all the knives. That's as far as I got.
And then you
I was tired. I went to sleep.
okay.
But because I was watching it late at night. But that's as far as I've gotten into it. But yeah, we've talked about that and the rigmarole with the directing and editing of that movie.
Yeah.
But
RGB.
I don't know. It's my thing with Wonder Woman. First 2 acts are excellent. Third act, you start getting in trouble. Third act is a little rough, especially the whole kind of casualness that the whole Ares reveal is dealt with. You know, like all that shit.
Yeah.
I knew going in who was Ares.
Oh, definitely.
Because I read shit, but so it wasn't that I was, but watching it, I was just like that.
Well,
it wasn't very subtle.
I come from a really speculative film goer predicting kind of mentality. So like, I see actors that are portrayed in a role where I'm like, why is I think his name is David Willis, who plays Ares.
Yeah, the guy who was Lupin and
Lupin.
Harry Potter.
So him, like I was like, why are they giving him such a really weak role? Why is he's characters?
And then
he's gotta be something bigger.
had Danny Houston or whatever, just chewing, just hard on his, every time you saw his character he was pointlessly menacing the whole time. So you're like, this is the bad guy. And you should be like, oh, that means this guy really isn't the bad guy.
Well, we're gonna stop recording for this, and hopefully we'll do another follow-up after you watch it.
Yeah.
We're gonna play some Star Wars.
Star Wars time.